7:30 in the morning on Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. I just moved the cows to another cell. This would be Monday to the fifth cell of the second section of the rotation that started on August 25th, 2023. There's some patties that were just laid. So the cows are going to the new section to eat grass. I noticed some of the grass. I'm not really sure what kind of grass it is. But here we go. Here's an example of that kind of grass. See that? Hopefully I'm not disturbing the roots too much. Look at that grass. It's shooting blades up almost as tall as the goatweed. There's a couple places where it went over the goatweed. I'm noticing lots of spider webs too. There's like these little spots where the goatweed doesn't grow. And in this new section, there's a couple spots where there's hardly any goatweed at all. But I wanted to kind of show you. Here, this is kind of a dead spot in the goatweed, but you can see green grass down there. There's something growing. So the temperature, it's about 72 or 4 degrees, something like that. And it's supposed to get to 95 today. So it's not supposed to be a hot day at all. Yeah, I think this is the tuft of grass I looked at. I'm like, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Let me pull that out if I can one-handed. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Here the goatweed's getting shorter and the grass is getting taller. Look at this. Look at that grass. So yeah, I'm not terribly concerned about the goatweed. My grand list of concerns right now, goatweed is not one of them. As I've said before, nature has her ways. I overgrazed the field last year by a lot, and goatweed is what happens when you overgraze. And my body, when I scratch it, it bleeds and forms a scab, and it's best to leave the scab alone. Let your body do its healing naturally. If you keep picking at it, it just makes it worse, right? So I figure if this is a scab type of situation, number 19. If this is a way that nature's trying to use to heal the soil, then I better not interfere too much with it and let it work its course. And besides, I'm getting grass and the cows can eat. So I don't see the problem. There's a section where there's less goatweed. There's a couple more like these out there. Scientific method. I've probably harped on this several times, but I want to speak on it again. One of the things that I learned recently, very recently, like in the past week or so, is that if you're going to do something, you need a reason to do it. Knowing how to do it is not enough, but there has to be some motivating factor. And when you look at the history of science, the how, I think, has been discovered several times throughout history. You also need faith that the thing will do what it purports to do, right? If you don't even try it, it doesn't matter how much you know about it, you're not going to get the desired result. So the how of science is that you propose an idea, a theory, then you go out there and you experiment and see how the theory aligns up with reality, and then you when you realize your theory's wrong, not if you realize, when you realize the theory's wrong, you come up with a better theory and you experiment with that. And it's a continuous process of improvement. One of the key features of Christianity, one of the reasons why it took Christianity to basically give birth to science, is a couple doctrines that Christianity teaches that some might find heretical today, just because those doctrines are so profound and so powerful. The first doctrine is that with many religions, God governs the universe and God uses laws and logic and reason to do so. This is a major leap, because for most of human history, we believed that physical phenomena were manifestations of fickle spirits and gods. The reason why there's a thunderstorm is because Thor is upset. The reason why you got sick and died is because God doesn't like you for something you did. Just arbitrary reasons that people invent that have no logic or reason behind it. But the Christian God says that he doesn't work that way, that he uses logic and reason and justice, and that he's not capricious. He treats everyone equally. As Paul says, he's no respecter of persons. So, and he says it causes it to rain on the just and the unjust. So it doesn't matter whether you're righteous or wicked. Laws of nature are the same. So that's kind of an obvious first step towards science. The next one's not so obvious. The next one is that it's okay to be wrong. Right? And this is one of the reasons I love my faith, is we don't have inquisitions and we don't require absolute conformity. In fact, conformity is kind of against our nature. You're supposed to experiment and try things out, see what happens, right? And what gives us the freedom to do so is the idea that we can always repent. If we've done something wrong, it can be fixed. So we have that universal band-aid. It says it's okay to try things out, as long as you're acting in good faith. It'll be okay, So if you're wrong about something, you can always be corrected, That principle of forgiveness and such is pretty critical part of science too, right? So it's okay to be wrong, right? It's okay to shoot your arrow into the dark and have it miss the mark. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? So that one is, I think that's kind of obvious, that people have a sense that in order to do science, you need to have an atmosphere where being wrong is okay. It's not the end of the world. And furthermore, you kind of need the attitude, I don't know what these guys are all excited about. You kind of need the attitude that everybody's wrong. And we got to figure out how we're wrong, right? So that's kind of an extension of that principle of forgiveness, is the idea that we all need forgiveness, that none of us are right. And that's an opinion you need to have in order to do science. Furthermore, the next idea is that perfection is attainable, that perfection is possible. It is possible that we can understand the laws that govern nature. Okay, that's important, right? If we didn't think that we could, why would we even try, right? So there's a pattern to nature. It's okay that we get it wrong, but it is possible for us to obtain a correct understanding of nature. And for a long time, I thought, that was pretty much all you needed to do science, was those three basic concepts. Well, the fourth concept, I guess, is the experiment, is the universe doesn't lie. Your measure of truth isn't logic and reason, it's what actually happens in nature. But anyway, The next idea is the idea that is truly powerful, and I think it's the one that really propelled science from a curiosity. Oh my goodness, they're wrestling each other. I want to see if I can see that without interrupting it. But the next idea is the idea that really propelled science from the realm of a curiosity into an absolute necessity, where people would devote their lives to it. And that's the idea, I think, that's truly revolutionary and necessary for our times, and the idea that's been lost, along with some of the other ideas, but this one's pretty important. The idea is this, that not only is science a good thing, but it is a worthy and noble ambition. Dedicate your life to studying it, right? And the earliest scientists, I'd say the modern scientists, saw their work in science as a form of worship of the divine. And as such, it wasn't just a nice thing to have, it was an absolute necessity. There we go. Just as long as they don't come this way. I think they're just play fighting right now. They're just having fun. There's plenty of food. They're full. They have energy. You know? So yeah, so the idea that you should pursue science, even at the cost of your wealth and substance. This is an idea that I think is unique to Christendom. I think lots of cultures had the idea that you should pursue yourself to a higher nobility, noble purpose. Buddhist monks, for instance, would give up everything so they can chant and pray and do things at the temple, and so on. It's our culture isn't unique. Hindus do it, right? European culture wasn't unique in that regard. But the idea that you should give your life up to studying logic and reason and observing nature and categorizing and documenting, even arguing and debating, that's an important thing too. And I think that's the motivating factor, is certain people felt a higher calling. You can't wrestle the ram. Certain people felt a higher calling. I don't know what's going on. Everybody's all riled up. I guess because autumn's coming, they could feel it. Yes, so if you're one of those people that feel like, science is calling at you, and you feel like that's your noble purpose, by all means, go for it. Dedicate your life to it. You'll have to take some kind of vow of poverty. That's the one thing I wasn't really willing to do, to become a professor of physics. I knew that I could have done it, even though the market wasn't that good back in the early 2000s. I knew that I was smart enough and I had the right drive, and I could have figured it out eventually, one way or the other. The thing that I wasn't willing to do, though, was sacrifice wealth. I chose to do software instead because you make a lot more money doing it. It was easier too. I could spend more time with my family. Start a family, raise a family. That was kind of my priority. But if you have the option to raise a family and do science, do it. Go ahead, dedicate your life to it. Go crazy in the pursuit of knowledge. I think it's a noble pursuit. So that's kind of my little lecture on science, and the idea that not only does it work, the ideas are sound, but there is a motivating factor there that we should remember, and we shouldn't be ashamed of. So I think that's one of the reasons I think that modern science developed in Europe at the time. Was a lot of people were motivated to dedicate their lives to it. So, and the people that did dedicate their lives to it, they sacrificed a lot. A lot that they could have had. They gave up a lot for it. So, take somebody like Newton. He probably could have devoted his life to doing something else and probably been much more successful in terms of, you know, monetary gain. But, you know, he chose to pursue raw science instead, and pursue crazy ideas that he had about things that that were different than everybody else. So, yeah. Don't be surprised, number 20. You know me. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.